Now let's move over to Zambia, where the World Bank and IMF officials are pressing Zambia's creditors to accelerate negotiations on reducing the country's official debt burden. But sources familiar with the process said that they are unlikely to finalize an agreement until early next year. The Zambian government told investors in October that it hoped to agree debt relief terms with official creditors by the end of the year or early 2023.
Now, China and France have led a series of meetings in recent months to renegotiate Zambia's bilateral debts under the common framework created by the Group of 20 major economies and Paris Club of official creditors, but progress has been halting. Now, joining us is Dr. Lubinda Habzoka. He's a Zambian economist. Good morning, Dr. Lubinda. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me.
Now, let's start with understanding the state of Zambia's economy currently. And do you think she might be able to pay off these debts?
Well, I think that it's very possible to pay out the debts. I think we're looking at an external debt of about $15 billion now. Of course, in the short term, it will be difficult to to make interest and principal payments as they fall due, owing to the fact that the last 5 years we have seen GDP growth reduce, owing to the fact that we have had energy shortages. We had the droughts, and Zambia normally relies on hydro electricity to hydro energy to produce electricity. Also, we had energy costs, load shedding, just like in South Africa now, of up to even 12 hours. So that had a huge negative impact on Zambia's economy. As for example, mines consume 60% of all the energy produced in Zambia, and they were forced to operate at half capacity. So that saw production reduce, and not only in the mining sector but across the sectors, agriculture sector, retail, and manufacturing. So then from there, when we started receiving normal rainfall pattern, Corona or the COVID came, and Zambia, of course, didn't do lockdowns, but a lot of companies moved away. Zambia being a country that has a concentration of foreign direct investors, so we saw them pushing up. That further pushed Zambia's economy into the negative, and because of that, we were unable to generate enough, income, to meet our payments. So from there, Zambian government defaulted on external debt 2 years ago to make it possible, for maybe debt restructuring, and that was done under the IMF and World Bank guidance.
The Zambian government had told investors that it hoped to agree to debt relief terms by the end of the year or early 2023. What are the projections for this happening before the end of the year?
Well, it's quite difficult to actually agree with all the lot of creditors. When you look at Zambia's debt, of course, the Western media, put Chinese debt as being problematic. The Chinese, Zambia owes China about $4 billion of its $14 billion, dollar debt. The other, debt is about $3 billion, which is, the Eurobond debt. That is, resources that were, gotten from the Western capital markets, precisely in the USA. Then we have also sovereign debt, and commercial debt that was borrowed from, commercial sources on the international capital and even money markets. So the type of debt that is giving Zambia a headache is not actually Chinese debt as earlier perceived in the media. It's a Eurobond. So for the creditors to accept, all of them need to be treated equally. And the Eurobond holders, these are just household companies that have got nothing to do with sentiments. They just want their money back. But what I think they are being asked is to take a cut, to sell back their bonds at a discount, and I think that is what they are not agreeing with. So the major issue is to now agree with the Eurobond holders, and the information that I have as 2 weeks ago, the Eurobond holders had refused to those demands. So how we move forward, is going to depend on how we entice Euro bondholders. And, those ones cannot be isolated and paid off, because other debtors are going to also say that if you're able to meet, service, debt payments with these people, you also are supposed to pay us. Then we have also domestic debt. Domestic debt, that is arrears to, those that, provided works to government locally. Those have been put on priority. Government has started paying off. So the external debt holders are saying, look, but if you are meeting, domestic payments, if you want us to take a cut, then also locally, your people should take a cut. But now Zambia can't afford that, because once you reduce that debt, you're going to kill industry in Zambia, because a lot of companies are supplied to government. A lot of companies depend on their money back. The service has been provided, but government is withholding payment. So we're quite in a tricky situation.
Well, I also want you to speak a little bit more about the mining sector, the mining, agriculture, I think. These are some of Zambia's highest earning sectors. Are these going to be in any way sustainable to pay back some parts of these loans? Or is there something more that needs to be done? And is the mining sector even still doing very well at this point?
Well, Zambia's mining sector, unfortunately, was privatized late 1990. So the majority of the mining sector, over 80%, is owned by foreign players. None of these, except for one mine, have posted profits in the last 20 years of operating in the Republic of Zambia. When you look at the former government company that used to control all the mines, at Zambia Consolidated Copper Mines, it made profits in its worst year, 1991, it made profits of $190 million. Now, in terms of taxes, that is corporate income tax, the mines have not paid that amount for the last 20 years operating.
All right, seem to be having connection issues there. But the conversation is mostly about Zambia and how it will get itself out of this seeming financial crisis that it's in, and hopefully get debt forgiveness. Welcome back. Kindly go ahead.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say is that Zambia does not control its own mining, companies, and because of that, it's very difficult to use the mines to repay debt. But there are two mines that are under dispute, and that those are now the Zambian government bought them. That is Mopani, one of the largest mines. It used to be owned by Glencore. Another one used to be owned by the Danta, which is KCM in Chingola. Those ones are under government, control. But the problem with Zambia is that there's a lot of Western influence and pressure from the IMF to say, the Zambian government has no business mining. And unfortunately, at the moment, instead of recapitalizing those mines to help, pay off the debt and to help also finance Zambia's, low foreign exchange reserves, Zambia is looking for cooperating partners to come and invest in. So we're still going back to the same story of running mines, that are not giving us, enough revenue. When you look at the two mines that I'm talking about, Zambia's mining output is about 800,000 tons, a year. At current prices, we're looking at about $8 billion a year. The mines, those are just copper mines. The mines provide about 80% of the foreign exchange inflows into the country. So these two mines alone have a capacity to produce 600,000 tons, metric tons of copper per year. But now they are operating at very low capacity, maybe just at care and maintenance level. So, if those were put back on track, they would help pay off this debt easily. There's a lot of illicit financial flows, a lot of mining going on without companies paying taxes. You have, Zambia is the largest exporter of emeralds in the world. Zambia also has a lot of manganese. I think the third largest deposits after Kazakhstan, Congo, and that's when Zambia is. But all those, being, exploited in an informal setup, meaning there's no accountability. So what Zambia needs now is to, is to formalize and bring sanity to the mining sector, and debt, having a proper, sinking fund for debt service, we were able to repay this debt within 10 to 15 years. When I was serving as Economic Association of Zambia president, I then advised government, the Republican president, to create gold reserves. And within 6 months, because gold was being mined in Zambia as a byproduct, so it was not being declared. It will go out as, they will say it's negligent and it's negligible amount, so they wouldn't even declare it to just go out. So Zambian government put a policy of saying all the gold mined in Zambia are supposed to be sold to government. And in the first 6 months of that operation, the gold reserves were over $70 million US. So the current government has come in, they have different moods. They stopped announcing how much has been stockpiled. So if we continued on that aggressive path, our estimates that were to hit $1 billion worth of gold reserves in 5 to 6 years. So those are some of the local, domestic, solutions to Zambia's debt service. But unfortunately, the Bretton Woods institution like IMF, World Bank, they're using old classical solutions of, sit on a program, sit on an IMF program. We are going to get cheaper long-term financing and somehow manage to repay the debt.
I mean, this IMF that you speak of has said that Zambia would need about $8.4 billion to be able to, cash cuts, to be able to reach some form of, make some sense of this whole situation. But we look forward to having you back, and we hope that Zambia really does find a way to get out of this sticky situation. Thank you very much, Dr. Lubinda Habazoka, for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.